Well, you know, it was supposed to rain today. It was supposed to thunderstorm, in fact. And there are thunderstorms miles and miles away, back still south and west of Tulsa. That's a long way for us. That's hours. Sun is shining. The sky's blue right now. I came out here by myself thinking I was just going to be doing some boat work, but I'm out sailing. So this is my view from the helm. I do have my new bimini on Estrellas right overhead here. There's a large piece of isinglass directly above the camera actually right now that gives me a good view of the sails. I can see all the way to the top of the mast. I can see the entire mainsail in front of me. It's not up right now, but I can actually see the entire boom. The boom is right above the camera right now, or the end of the boom is. So really the bimini turned out great. We'll see, you know, with some time how the quality is. I was not happy with the almost 9-month wait to get it, but we got it, and it works pretty well. I like it. It looks good. I'm not going to complain too much about it. I got it finally. So I've got some bass boats running around. That's what you hear in the background right now. There is a ski boat. Looks like they're either drifting or anchored right out in the middle of Honey Creek right now. Honey Creek's actually pretty big. It sounds, you know, creek makes you think of something small. Honey Creek by itself is about the size of the lakes I started sailing on back in Arkansas. And we've actually done races up and down Honey Creek without ever going out into the main lake. When I single hand, I usually don't leave Honey Creek unless the winds are really goofy in it, which does happen. Right now the winds are coming almost from the due south. If I can get to the far side, because I came from the south shore, if I can get to the far side, I can probably get enough wind to play around in, but I'm still having a little bit of a problem. You may hear a scratching sound on the video. It's not very loud here personally, but I do notice it, and the microphone really enhances those sounds. That is actually my reefing line that's hanging down off the boom just a little bit, since it's slack right now, and it's dragging on the bimini. The boom does not hit the bimini by about a ½ inch, but the lines hanging off can. If I tightened it up, it wouldn't do that anymore. But again, all of those controls are actually, you can see the green line over there. You can see that right there. That is my reefing line, and that's a long way to reach, which, I mean, there's not that much wind. I could step up there at the moment, but hopefully it doesn't turn out that badly in the video. As you can see, I'm watching my sail catch wind here. We're trying to keep wind in it. I'm almost dead downwind, but not quite. I'm just a little bit off of it. So every time the wind wanes just a little bit, the sail wants to flux. I had to turn just a little to keep what little wind I've got. I've got 2.3 knots of wind now, so that happens. So we do a lot of light wind sailing around here because it is a lake and you take what you get. Unfortunately, it tends to just work out that you're either heavy wind sailing with 20+ knots, and I know that doesn't sound like much for anybody who's done ocean sailing. 20 knots is a good, pleasant sail out there. But as you can see in the video, at least you should be able to, There's pretty much land all around me, so there's only so far you can go, and it'll either wear you out because you're tacking constantly to keep off the bank, or you just don't have time to do the maneuvers that you need, and the wind's never steady on the lake. There, as you can see, most of the terrain is what you kind of see in front of you, and I'll turn this so you can see the terrain a little better. It's hills. Not mountains necessarily, but good tall hills all the way around the lake. And that's true of many lakes in the central U.S. That's what they used to make the lake. Most of them are man-made lakes. They were dammed. And they used the valleys in the area to fill lakes. So these lakes tend to be rather narrow. They tend to be snaky. So lots and twists and turns in them. I might have to jibe in a minute if I keep going that way. And I will jibe in just a moment, so you can see that. Single-handed. It's not hard in 2.5 knots of wind, but you'll get to see it. But yeah, I mean, terrain like that really kind of messes with you. So if you look to the left of your screen there, that's actually the main part of the lake. You see a couple of boats right there at the entryway to Honey Creek and the main lake. There's a peninsula, you can't see it, it's behind my sail right now. There's a peninsula that comes out on the north side of the creek that they call 5th and Boston. The only reason I can figure out that they call it 5th and Boston is the people who own that property put up a big street sign, or pair of street signs, the cross of 5th and Boston. I'm guessing that they're probably from Boston, I don't know. Riding right on that edge there so I can go in this direction. We got some wake. These are not waves like you think of in the ocean. This is all being produced by the motorboats going by. It's not terrible. It was on my smaller boats. It really kind of knocked us around. Estrellas being a 10,000 pound Catalina 30, especially under sail. If I had a little more wind, it would be even more stable. She cuts through the wake pretty well. We don't get bounced around too much. You can feel it, but it's not bad. My smaller boat, my Catalina 25 that I owned previously, look at that going on over here. My Catalina 25 was about 6,000 pounds. And she still, being a lot more narrow as well, still took quite a bit of a beating from the waves. I'll let them go by. So what I just did is there is a tension lock on my helm wheel that allows me to let go of the wheel from time to time, and you know, the rudder doesn't go wild with movement of the boat. I had it a little bit too tight because I've been messing with things back here, and we're really kind of in low wind at the moment, although we do have about 3.5 knots now, more than it was before. That was a depth alarm, which was a false reading. It's actually 53 feet here, so there's probably a large school of fish under me or some trash or something. That usually doesn't pick up whenever you have enough speed to really be going. You pass by it so fast that the sonar doesn't pick it up. I'm guessing since I hit it again, it's probably fish. I mean, I'm sitting in 52 foot of water, so there's no way all of a sudden I was in 10 foot, which is what it was saying. I was in 10 foot. We only draft about 5.5 feet on this boat, so I'm fine in 10 foot. Not worried about it, but I know it's not 10 foot here. This is a big, deep creek, so. You know, they talk about that. The ocean sailors talk about that all the time, that you have to be aware and you have to check charts and you have to do all that stuff. When you sail a lake, that's all true, but you're sailing the same ground all the time. And I guess, you know, the sailors down on the ocean, I say down, I'm from the Gulf Coast, so it's always down to me. I guess it could be both directions. But the sailors on the coast, that, you know, have a home marina there and they sail those waters all the time, get used to it too, but they have an additional problem I typically don't have. Sandbars shift. I grew up on the Gulf. I'm well aware of this. I can tell you where a few of those shifting ones are from my fishing days down there. I've never sailed. I have been on a sailboat, but it was not mine. I took my parents out sailing on a charter boat. But I can tell you that the sandbars shift a lot down there, so they're always changing. Most things on the lake are the same all the time. I get to know my lake. I know what all the depths are everywhere. I do have charts. I have studied them, but I don't need them anymore because I know the lake. That is an advantage to lake sailing to an extent. It can also be kind of a downer. You never do anything new. I do like this lake. We started out with our Catalina 25 out on Lake Ooliga, which is closer to Tulsa, Claremore area for those who know. And Ooliga is an Army Corps of Engineers lake. There's nothing on it. There's one marina, and that's where my boat was. It has a little restaurant at that marina. That's your home marina. You don't want to sit there all the time. There's nowhere to go, literally. There's no other marinas. There's nothing to go see. There's nothing to go do. You just go sail around, which is all fine and great, especially when I was learning. That was fine for us, but it got boring pretty quick. Grand Lake has several opportunities to go and do stuff. There's a lot of little islands out that you can actually go, anchor off. You camp on them. There's nothing on the islands. They're small, but they are big enough to camp on. Matter of fact, they're big enough to go explore. You can't see from one side or the other on a couple of them, mostly because of the forest, but there's enough there that you can go explore for probably an hour and have some fun. But it's enough to make a nice campground, that kind of thing. Oh, I was going to tell you, so there's restaurants on the lake. They have courtesy docks. So in that essence, in that sense, it's similar to sailing on the coast because there are places to go. There's things to do. We can pull right up to the restaurant, into one of their docks, tie up, go in, have dinner, get back on the boat, and go again. Have lunch, whatever you want to do. But anyway, I'll let you have that view for a few minutes because it is beautiful. That's why I come out here. It is beautiful. Off in the distance, you can see there's a big high-rise resort over there. There's numerous resorts on the lake, and they all have marinas. Most of them have some restaurants. A lot of the restaurants are associated with those resorts. And we can go into those. There are a few of them that are too shallow. There are a few of them that cater too much to motorboats, and we can't get in there without getting run over. I have to know all of those things. So again, yes, charts are important. I know which ones I can go into now because I've studied the charts enough. Whee! Again, as you can tell, we're not rolling much, but it does shake everything on board. If the main was up, that wouldn't even be that noticeable, but it's noticeable when I probably need to tighten up the main sheet a little bit. This is my first time out of the slip with the Bimini. I've had the frame here since I got the boat. We took the old torn up Bimini off of this boat, and it was so torn up they couldn't even use it as a pattern for a new one. Alright, so this is my instrument cluster. As you can see, I'll take off my glasses so I can see it through the camera. We're in 56 feet of water right now. I do have my sea temperature, which it is very warm. It is a lake. My knot meter doesn't work. It will kick in every once in a while when we get going really good, but it's not accurate. I've got to, next time I take the boat out of the water, I'll have to figure out what's wrong with it. This is my wind direction. So as you can see right now, I'm pretty much on a beam reach. Wind's shifty, which it always is. No shock there. And over here I've got my wind speeds and directions. So one is true wind speed. And basically the other one, what that's describing is what the boat observes as our wind speed and direction. Obviously we're moving, and we're moving with the wind. So as that happens, the wind speed actually goes down as far as the boat's concerned, because we're traveling at that speed, which is the problem at low wind speeds. We're barely moving right now, so they're almost the same. But that is a problem at these low wind speeds. Is that we'll get going as fast as the wind is on some occasions, and the boat isn't observing much. Hey, we got a little bit of a gust there, up to 5 knots of wind, and she'll sail in that nicely. As you can see, we've got good wind in the sail right now. I'll show you that window I was talking about up here. See, I can actually see the sail all the way up. My Bimini's pretty nice. I like it. We do have our flag back on for the season. I don't particularly like videoing anything vertically. That was the orientation of my phone when I started. So I do apologize. I really thought that you were just going to be looking at the bar that my little mount is mounted to, but it looks like it's managing to get over it. So look at that a little bit. It is beautiful out here. We're now holding just over 3 knots of wind. She'll sail very slowly in that, but I've made some distance. I put up the sail just after I passed the last of the docks. And you've been with me for most of it now. I'll show you where the docks are. So back up in that cove right there, you might be able to see a bunch of masts. I'll zoom in and see if I can show you that. It'll get shaky, but you should be able to see some masts back up in there if you can't see the docks. I put my glasses back on and they're polarized, and it causes me not to be able to see the screen very well. Well, I mean, this is single-handed lake sailing. We got 5.5 knots of wind right now. We just put on a slight bit of heel, so she's cruising along. Yep, she's starting to cut through the water. Wind's waning again. We're back to 4 knots. So if anybody's been wondering, I know that you've seen this in a few videos that I've done recently for sailing. The frame, the metal frame that you see in front of you that doesn't have anything on it, that's supposed to be a Dodger frame. The boat came with 2 pieces of that Dodger, the little corner windows, and nothing else. We don't know where the rest of the canvas is. Nobody in this area knows how to make one or is willing to make one. And I have asked a few sail lofts abroad if they could do it, and they refuse to do it because they need to be able to be here and personally measure it, and they won't put their name on it if they can't do that because it won't look right. So there is a canvas, the same canvas company that just did my Bimini has told me that they are willing to give it a shot. They've never done one, but I showed them some pictures and stuff like that, and they felt like they could do it. But after the almost 9-month wait just for the Bimini, which is a relatively simple thing as I understand, I'm not that good at sewing, so I'm not going to try it, but I understand that's one of the simpler things to make as long as you have a pattern and good measurements. I was not real convinced. Wow, that was quite a shift. Now we're upwind. So because we're passing another cove. Anyway, after that 9-month wait for the Bimini, I haven't decided if I want to give them a try or not. On a lake, we don't really need a Dodger. It's not like we've actually got sea spray coming over the bow on a regular basis. I've had that happen, but you know, one splash and a whole sail. Usually when those big yachts come through and throw those large waves, you know, 4 or 5 foot waves sometimes, they're ridiculous. And it really is like being on the ocean in that moment. We usually get some sea spray then, but that's the only real time. I more wanted it there to have some protection for the companionway when I'm staying on board. So if it's raining, I don't just open the companionway and let water in. I do have an AC and a little heater on board. Both of those are portable units. And they usually sit right underneath the companionway to heat the majority of the boat. They don't heat very well behind them, or cool, whichever the case may be. And so if I open the companionway, they're getting wet. That's not good. So, matter of fact, I store the portable AC unit right next to the companionway stairs. So even if it's not running, it gets wet when I open the companionway in the rain. So having a Dodger would just kind of be almost like an awning on your front door. It's more valuable to me in that sense. But if we had it, we could also make a little pass-through zip out between the Bimini and the Dodger, and basically have a full cover over the entire cockpit. So we could actually use the cockpit a little bit more effectively, even sitting at the dock, just staying on board, sitting at anchor. We've got more shade, more protection from the elements. There's really not much to talk about. I'm not working on any projects right this minute. Clearly my all the wood on board, all the bright work, needs to be redone. I do need to do that at some point. It's supposed to rain this afternoon, so that's not something I want to take on right now. It was supposed to rain tomorrow. Now they've taken the rain out, but they do have rain in the forecast for Monday. So yeah, I could sand it all down and start putting on, you know, all the new finish. And if it rains Monday, it may not be fully set yet, and the rain will just destroy it. So you know, I want, only being able to come out here on the weekends, I want her usable. So I don't want to have to put up tarps and everything just to do that job, and I want to be able to go. Today, biggest problem is when your boat actually operates. All the little things you have a tendency to say, I'll get to that. I'm going sailing. I mean, that's what you got the boat for, was to sail it, not to sit around at the dock and do boat work on it. There is a lot of boat work that goes into it. I'm rambling. I'm not very good at the whole narration type thing. Obviously, I didn't keep the camera on me for very long. Funny enough, I operate as a public information officer. I appear on the news all the time. I have a mission in those. I have a goal, and I haven't quite figured out what my goal is with these videos. So I'm good at my job on camera, even doing it live. I've done many live shoots for the local media. But here's just different. I don't know exactly what to talk about. There's things to talk about on the boat, but most of them are very technical, and I don't know that you're going to enjoy half of it. So it's hard for me to figure out what to say and what to do. So I'm rambling. So I hope somebody gets something useful out of what I'm saying. I think the overarching theme has been lake sailing kind of sucks, but you know, we all say it, and I think it's true, coming from some of the ocean sailors who have come here, and some of our sailors who have gone to sea. They will tell you that if you can sail on a lake, especially this kind of lake with all the hills around and everything where the wind shifts constantly, you can sail the ocean. There are different problems on the ocean that you have to get accustomed to, but this is harder as far as the sailing part goes. Lake sailing is more difficult, and if you can sail well here consistently, you can take on the ocean, because it's typically, you know, and I'm talking about good days, it is typically far more steady winds and more open space to deal with. Sorry, he got kind of close and it was loud. You know, typically it's far better winds, steady winds. They don't shift around on you. It's more open space on the ocean than it is on the lake. So, you know, I feel like, and this is our prep for going to sea one day when I retire. I say one day, I know exactly when, and it's not that long. We've got about 7 years, and then we'll get out of here and go to sea. And I feel like this has done a great deal to prep me for that experience. So I try a lot to, you know, get good out here, so that I know for sure I can take on the ocean. Now, the things I won't deal with on the lake, because it's just stupid to even attempt it, is handling storm sailing. That's not something we do on a lake. You try to sail in a storm out here with the kind of gusts you get, especially in Oklahoma. Frequently with thunderstorms that roll through, we have 40, 50, 60 knot gusts, not associated with tornadoes. I know that's what you're thinking when I say Oklahoma. I'm not even talking about that. That's just straight line winds. And then there is always that risk of a tornado. So it's just foolish to try that. The winds are back up over 6 knots now, so we're cruising. The sounds that you're hearing now, that's Astraeus cutting through the water. And she's cutting nicely. We've got a little bit of a heel on. It's not too much. It's quite comfortable. And we're cruising. The motorboat's made enough wake. Eventually, with enough boats, even a big lake will turn into a bathtub. So the wake's hitting each shore and coming back. So the waves are confused. Again, you don't often get that on the ocean. The waves, yes, can get big, but they're usually in the same direction. Coming in and out of inlets is where you get confused waves. The waves out here are confused all the time. So if you got wake, there's not much, thankfully, but if you've got wake, then it's coming from all different directions, kind of knocks you around a little bit. We've got a little bit of heel on right now, so as you can see, we're not bouncing much. We've got a little bit of rise in the bow. I can't feel it very, very well at the stern. It doesn't really feel like much. But side to side, there's no movement. That's why it's so loud right now, is the wake's actually hitting the hull and just bouncing off. It's not bouncing us up and down like it is when we're flat and slow. So the more wind I have, the better the ride. I say that, there's a point at which you got too much wind. The Catalina 30 is usually good to go up until about 18, 20 knots of wind, and that's when you want to get the first reef in. You don't have to. She will sail above 20 knots with full sail. It's just not it's not great on the rig, and you're not going to go any faster than you would wind shift. You're not going to go any faster than you would have with a reef in. With a nice reef in, you're not heeling too much. It's comfortable, and you're getting the same amount of ground speed. So why not just reef it? You know, there's a lot of guys at the club. They're all lake sailors. They don't like reefing because it takes time. And you know, we're manly men. We don't need a reef. They love heeling. I don't. It's not what I'm about. I like the peace. I like the comfort of being out here using the wind to drive a boat where I want it to go. Yeah, I'm out in the main part of the lake now. You can see a resort across there, the Shangri-La Resort. So if you're looking at a map, we are sitting right in the middle, right between the outlet of Honey Creek and Shangri-La Resort that's on the point due west of the mouth of Honey Creek. With that information, you should be able to pretty much exactly pinpoint where I am. Of course, by the time you see this, I won't even be in Oklahoma anymore, so. I don't know that I've ever mentioned that I actually live in Arkansas and I work in Arkansas. The only thing that we have any connection to Oklahoma for is the boat and the club. All right, I think it's about time we got turned around. There is weather coming in. It's way out in the distance, but it does take a long time in this low wind for me to get anywhere. So I'm going to jibe the boat, just because we're back to 4 knots of wind. It's easy to jibe with just a head sail. That's the way we're pointed already anyway. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm afraid we don't have enough speed right now to actually tack. Lake sailing. We came out here mostly downwind. We're going to go back downwind. It doesn't happen on the ocean like that usually. Not in the matter of an hour. Windy City. That's the other sailboat that came out. And that is one of the fleet-owned boats. So it's one of the fleet members that is using it. I don't know who it is yet. I know somebody was staying on it. I saw their marine AC was running earlier. Whoever it is obviously doesn't know to pull their fenders in, or hasn't realized there's one still out. Well, coming back into Honey Creek, the wind completely died. After I got the sails put up, the motor turned on, it picked back up a little bit, but it's not very much. We're almost back to the marina, so I'm just going to head in there. I'll give you guys a ride with me into the marina, so you kind of see how that goes. I apologize for the shake. Unfortunately, the diesel does that. When you're single-handed, you get to do it all yourself. The splashing that you might hear is so the engine actually draws water from the lake to cool itself in part. And then it spits that water out the exhaust, along with the exhaust. So to be able to hear that splashing is a good thing. That means it's working properly. When I don't hear it, that's actually what part of the problem with the engine was when I first got the boat, is it was not spitting the water out. That becomes a problem. That's when you wind up overheating. Show you what it's doing back there. That's how inboards are. This is my first inboard boat, and it was a little bit of a learning curve to understand how everything operated, but it wasn't very difficult. It was just a lot of information that I didn't know before. As you can see, that's my club's marina. They're off our starboard. Lovely boat there on the end. It just came off the ocean. About 3 months ago, I think. We repainted the hull and shined it up really nice. Got it in the water here. It even still has the wind vane attached to the back of it. The wind controlled steering mechanism. It's like an autopilot. all the way at the back. Hunter 34 was coming out of that first part of the marina. As we passed by, I don't know if you saw it pull out. Start getting set to back in, so I want to take it nice and slow coming in. The wind is right on the bow, but there's not a whole lot of it, about 3.5 knots. Problem with the wind being on the bow is it tries to throw my bow around while I'm trying to dock. And I am right up against the bank. My slip is only 13 feet deep. Put it in neutral. We're still going forward. I wanted to. Not done yet. I'm just bleeding speed. I'll flip the camera around as I back up so you can watch this. Now she walks to port quite badly when I put her in reverse. I'm gonna turn a little off to give way for that. Just in case flipping my phone around messed it up. Using my phone today, I wasn't prepared to actually video today because I didn't think I was going out. Neutral, and just coast in. Give it a little bit of forward here in a second to stop us. There we are. Just drift right into the slip, so I've got to do my thing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you need a motor on a sailboat.
Summer's coming once again, the islands we must flee. North we go to dodge a blow, homeward bound we must be. We'll set the main